Hello friends, welcome back to VOW DAYS. Welcome to the discussion of the Prelims test series. So, as you all know, we are discussing test 1 and this is part 3 of the test. Okay. So, now we will begin with question number 51. In the first two parts, we have discussed up to question number 50. Right. So, let's quickly begin. So, the 51st question is with regarding to the procedure for amendment of the constitution. So, amendment of constitution is something which is very important. So, amendment can be done by simple way or under article 368. So, what is the procedure under 368? You have to know that very clearly. What are the and another thing is you also have to know on what issues article 368 will be used. You have to know all of these things. So, the procedure is amendment can be initiated only by introduction of a bill for the purpose in either office of the parliament and not in state legislatures. So, this article 368 bill or the bill under article 368 cannot be introduced in state legislatures. And also it can be introduced either by a minister or by a private member. This is another important thing, and the bill must be passed in each house by a majority, that is 50% plus 2/3 present and voting. You also have to know this, 50% plus 2/3 present and voting, and each house has to pass this bill separately. And another important thing, remember, there is no provision for joint sitting. There is no provision for joint sitting, especially in the constitutional amendment bills. And another thing is, this bill, if it is passed by the parliament, the president either has to give his assent to the bill. You can say in simple words, the president has to give, it is given here, the president must give his assent. The president cannot return the bill or cannot withhold, because the president has veto powers. These veto powers, they are not applicable to the constitutional amendment bills. Okay, so remember this. Next one, preamble. So, preamble basically is the preface of the constitution. So, preamble talks about three things. Preamble talks about three important things. What are the three things? Can anyone comment? Yeah, they are the source of constitution, the objectives of constitution, the source, the objectives and the date of adoption. These three are talked by the preamble. The date of adoption, these three are talked by the preamble. So, source, objective and date of adoption. So, source is, who is the source? It is the people of India. They are the source. The people of India are the source. This is what said in the preamble. So, constitution derives its authority from the people directly. American Constitution was the first constitution to begin with a preamble. And in the Keshwananda case, Supreme Court held that preamble is part of the basic structure. It is part of the constitution. In fact, various provisions, as we just have seen in the mains video also, that various provisions were added to the basic structure eventually, like secularism, the equality, the liberty, fraternity, all these were added to the basic structure. The important objectives of preamble were added to the basic structure. So, broadly, the preamble is part of the constitution, and also it cannot be amended that easily. Things can be added to the preamble, but they cannot be removed. That is there, right? So, next, the 53rd question is with regard to article 359. As we all know, article 352 talks about the national emergency. Article 352 talks about national emergency. And article 359, it deals with the suspension of fundamental rights during national emergency. Article 359 authorizes president to suspend the right to move to any court for the enforcement of fundamental rights during national emergency. So, a person cannot approach the court for non-implementation of fundamental rights during national emergency. That means under article 359, the fundamental rights, they are not suspended, but only their enforcement is suspended. This is another important thing. That means you cannot approach the court, but that does not mean your fundamental rights are taken away. Okay, and there is a theoretically alive. So, the 44th Amendment Act of 1978 restricted the scope of 359 in two ways. The president cannot suspend the right to move to court for enforcement of fundamental rights guaranteed by article 20 and 21. That means the government can suspend any fundamental right, but article 20, 21 can never be suspended. They will always be in place. Article 20, 21, the right to life, and also under article 21 is basically the right to life, and article 20 is the protection provided to the people with respect to the conviction for offences. That is article 20, right? So, these are the two things. And article 359 operates in case of both national emergency, which is declared on the grounds of war or external aggression, as well as on the grounds of armed rebellion. and Article 359 may extend to entire country or any part of it also. So these are the various things with regarding to this Article 359. Next one is xenotransplantation. So as the name suggests, it is with regard to transplantation. And transplantation of what? Transplantation of cells, tissues, organs of different species, among different species. That means the cells, tissues and organs of one species, if it is transferred to another. For example, the organs of pig is transferred to humans. It is called as xenotransplantation. Okay. So xenotransplantation is nothing but transplantation of cells, tissues, organs of one species to another. It is defined by Food and Drug Administration as any procedure that involves transplantation, implantation or infusion into a human recipient of either living cell, tissues or another from organs from a non-human animal source, or the human body fluids, cells, tissues or organs that have ex vivo contact with the live non-human cells, tissues or organs. So basically that is what we just discussed. So next question is on martial law. So martial law, if you see, it is nowhere defined in the constitution. The 55th question of martial law, the martial law is not defined anywhere in the constitution. It is not defined. But Article 34, if you see, it provides for restriction on fundamental rights while the martial law is in force in any area. Both martial law and national emergency can be imposed in some specific areas, but the scope of national emergency is much more. It can be imposed in the whole country as well. Okay, that's the important thing. So martial law, mostly it is applicable to a specific area. It is not like national emergency. Okay. So next is quantifiable data. So quantifiable data is something the state has to collect according to the Supreme Court's judgment in M. Nagaraj case of 2006 and the Jarnail Singh case, because based on this quantifiable data only the reservations and all will be provided. That is the thing. So there is nothing much that we have to learn here. These are the basic things. Next the Indian Council Act of 1861. So 1861 Council Act is something which is very important because this is the Council Act that is passed after the 1857 War of Independence. So this Council Act of 1861 empowered viceroys to issue ordinances without occurrence of the Legislative Council during emergency. The ordinance that we are seeing today under Article 123 and 213, its origin is there in the 1861 Council Act. So such ordinance will be there for 6 months only, even it is same today as well. It made a beginning of representative institutions by associating Indians with the lawmaking process. So it thus provided that the viceroy should nominate some Indians as non-official members of the expanded council, and in 1862 Lord Canning, the then viceroy, nominated 3 Indians like the Raja of Banaras, Maharaja of Patiala and Sir Dinkar Rao. So remember, who are the first 3 Indians to be appointed to the Legislative Council? The Raja of Banaras, Maharaja of Patiala and Sir Dinkar Rao. And the office was created under the provision of Act of 1858, the Act of Good Governance of India. So this Act of Good Governance of India, basically it was introduced to win the confidence of the Indians, because the 1857 War of Independence, actually it has caused a lot of damage even to the British as well. Now let's move on to the 58th question, which is with regarding to the territory of India and Union of India. So there is a term called territory of India and there is a term called Union of India. So this territory of India, if you see, it is a wider expression. The territory of India is a wider expression, whereas the Union of India is a smaller expression. Why? Because this territory includes both states. Just a second. Territory includes both states plus union territories. States plus union territories. But if you see, on the other hand, what does union means? Union means only states. Union means only states. So that is the major difference. Okay. Next one, the parliamentary government. So next one is the parliamentary government. So as we all know, the parliamentary government is something which is very important, because question just keeps on coming every once in a while. So the parliamentary government, if you see here, the executive will be part of legislature, and also the executive is responsible to the Lok Sabha. Remember this very well. The executive is not responsible to the parliament, but the executive is responsible to the Lok Sabha. The executive is answerable to the legislature, unlike the presidential form of government where executive is not answerable to the legislature. The division of powers is it has nothing to do with the parliamentary government, because it is more to do with decentralization to the states. That is the thing. Next, the right to property. Right to property, the next one. So 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978 abolished this right to property as a fundamental right by repealing Article 19(1)(f) and Article 31. Because we used to have the freedom of property under the 19(1)(f), and also the right to property is a fundamental right under Article 31. So under this 44th Amendment Act, what the government then has done is, it has removed this right to property from Part 3, that is from the fundamental rights, and it has placed into Article 300A as a normal right. Okay, no, it is no more a fundamental right. And this right to property is also not part of the basic structure. It is not part of the basic structure. It can be regulated, curtailed, abridged and modified as per the parliamentary laws. Okay, so that means if there is any violation of the right to property of any person, he cannot move to the court directly. He cannot move to the High Court or Supreme Court for the issuance of writs. Remember this. Okay. Right. The next question is about the objective resolution. So what is objective resolution? It is nothing but the preamble, you can say. The preamble is formed based on the objective resolution. The preamble which talks about the rights of the preamble which talks about, as we discussed, it talks about the objectives of constitution, it talks about the source of constitution, and also it talks about the date of adoption. All these three are talked about by the preamble. So this preamble, if you see, it is adopted from the objective resolution. And summary of objective resolution, if you see, India is an independent sovereign republic. India shall be union of erstwhile British Indian territories. The territories forming union shall be autonomous units and exercise of all powers and functions of the government and administration. All of these things are there. And all power and authority of a sovereign and independent India and its constitution shall flow from the people. That means people are the source. Who are the source? The people are the source for the constitution. Okay, so that is the major thing. The next one, the bungalow tea. The bungalow tea, it was in use, so the question came. So what is bungalow tea? It is nothing but a creeper plant. It is a creeper. The bungalow tea is nothing but a creeper, and it is a, if you see, it is a creeper plant that is in combination with the pith of roots of jackfruit tree yields a saffron dye. So it grows along with the jackfruit tree and it gives this saffron dye. It is traditionally used to give color to the robes of Buddhist monks. This is another thing, you have to know these small things. The Buddhists have raised concern regarding the near extinction of this bungalow tea and called for a movement for conservation of the adjoining Challa Reserve Forest in Assam. Challa Reserve Forest in Assam, and it is above 100 meters sea level. Okay, and it has this bungalow tea. Remember, bungalow tea is a creeper. Next, election of members of the Constituent Assembly. So this is the question. So the Constituent Assembly, if you see, it has members from all the princely states and elected members as well. But elected means they are elected from the provincial legislative assemblies, but not directly by the people. So this Constituent Assembly does not contain any elected person directly from the people, but they are elected from the local, you can say from the provincial legislative assemblies. And also there are certain members who are appointed even directly by the or from the princely states. They are nominated from the princely states. Okay, that is the thing. Next is our doctrines. So the doctrine of basic structure and everything is there. The basic meaning of doctrine is they are nothing but the judicial pronouncements or judgments that have led to establishment of various rules and laws which are followed even till date. Okay, but these doctrines, they are not there in the constitution as per se. They are not there in the constitution, but with the various judicial pronouncements, they came into picture. That is about doctrine. Example, the basic structure doctrine. The next question, the 65th question, is on the recruitment to the All India services. Recruitment to All India services. So how it is done? It is done by the UPSC. The recruitment to All India services is done by UPSC annually. It is actually nothing but the government recruitment being done by the Union Public Service Commission. Okay. So Union Public Service Commission will just give recommendations to the government with regard to appointment, and it is the DOPT which will appoint the candidates. The jurisdiction of UPSC can be extended by an act made by the Parliament, and also as it was discussed earlier that the members of UPSC cannot be reappointed to any other government post. The only thing is they can be appointed as chairman of UPSC or chairman of any SPSC. That is another thing. So next is preamble. So the preamble, as we discussed, it contains the objectives of the constitution and all. The important thing is, under the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976, we added 3 words, SSI, remember like this, socialist, just again, the socialist, secular and integrity. These 3 words are added, integrity, these 3 words are added, remember this well. Next, Joint State Public Service Commission. See, while UPSC and SPSC, they are constitutional bodies, the JPSC, the Joint Public Service Commission, is a statutory body. This is the major difference, because it is created by an act of parliament. It is created by an act of parliament. Generally, for the State Public Service Commission, the chairman is appointed by whom? Yes, it is by the governor. But for the JPSC, it is appointed by the president. This is the major difference. This is the major difference. Okay. Right. So next is Solicitor General of India. The Solicitor General of India is not a constitutional body. Only the Attorney General is a constitutional body. Article 76 just talks about Attorney General. The Solicitor General is an assistant to the Attorney General. That is the thing. Next, 69th question is about the Constituent Assembly. So in 1934, the idea of Constituent Assembly for India was put forward by M.N. Roy for the first time. So in 1935, the INC for the first time demanded a Constituent Assembly to frame Constitution for India. In 1938, Jawaharlal Nehru, on behalf of INC, declared that Constitution of Free India must be framed without any outside interference. We all know the Congress rejected these August offer and all just because of this only. They said Constitution, because the British were saying Constitution will be formed mostly by Indians, but that is not acceptable, because the Indians want the Constitution to be formed entirely by Indians. That came from here. Next is on NATO. The 70th question is on NATO. Well, in the last 1 year, because of the Ukraine war and all, NATO is in news. The NATO is nothing but the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It's an intergovernmental military alliance between 27 European and 2 North American countries. The North American countries are, can anyone tell? Yes, they are USA and Canada. And 1 Eurasian country. Just leave in the comment box what is this Eurasian country which is part of EU. It is very easy, the Eurasian country. Okay, so headquarters of the NATO is in Brussels, Belgium, and it implements the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It implements this North Atlantic Treaty. NATO means North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So it implements this North Atlantic Treaty, which was signed on 4th of April. Okay, so you also have this Article 5, which talks about the collective defense. Article 5 of this Washington Treaty talks about the collective defense. That means attack on any one member is attack on all the members. That is the thing. So till now only once this Article 5 was invoked, that was during the 2001 attack on the United States Twin Towers. So next, 71st question is on the sources of Constitution. Source of Constitution. The government of India, so it has borrowed the constituent, or you can say it has borrowed elements of the Constitution from various constitutions. So we have to know from where we have borrowed the important provisions. For example, the fundamental rights from USA, for example, the TPSP from Ireland. Like that we will have to remember the emergency provisions from Germany, all of these things. The questions, because questions can easily be framed on this and we can easily score in these kind of questions. Next, the 72nd question. It is about the important provisions. Any bill contemplating changes with regarding to reorganization of states can be introduced in Parliament only with the prior recommendation of the President. Under Article 3, the Parliament's power to diminish areas of a state does not include to cede any Indian territory to a foreign state. And any bill aiming to recognize states shall be passed in the Parliament by a simple majority. So with regarding these provisions, there is a question. So these are nothing, not of great importance, but yeah, we just have to know these things. Article 2, Article 3 and all. Next is about the Advocate General. So Advocate General is the highest law officer of a state, just like Attorney General. Article 165 provides for the office of Advocate General, and he is appointed by the Governor. Just like the Attorney General appointed by the President, the Advocate General is appointed by the Governor, and there is no eligibility criteria or anything. The thing is that he will be in power, or he will have the post till he enjoys the confidence of the Governor. That is the only thing. Okay, and the remuneration is not fixed, and also he can be removed whenever the government wants, in simple words. This is about the Advocate General. Next is about the writ of habeas corpus. As we all know, under Article 32, we have various writs. Under Article 32. Now, what about the writ of habeas corpus? So, under the habeas corpus, the writ can be issued against private individuals as well as public authority as well. While the writ of mandamus prohibition certiorari can be issued only against public authorities. Okay, so habeas corpus can be against private individuals and public authorities. So basically it is nothing but for if a person is arrested by the writ of habeas corpus, he can be released if he is arrested illegally. That is the thing about habeas corpus. Next, the 75th question, it is about Article 33. So Article 33 basically empowers Parliament to restrict or abrogate fundamental right of its members of armed forces, paramilitary forces, police forces, intelligence agencies, etc. So Article 33 is placing limitations on various government servants. Any law made by the Parliament on these things cannot be challenged in any court on the grounds of contravention of any fundamental rights, because they are part of the government machinery, so they will not have or they will not enjoy the fundamental rights. Accordingly, Parliament has enacted Army Act, Navy Act, Police Forces Act, etc. Okay, and the member of armed forces are also covered. The member of armed forces also covers such employees of armed forces like the barbers, carpenters, mechanics, cooks, etc. So not only the people who are in the war, but also who are participating in the war, but also the mechanics, the cooks, carpenters, they also are bound by this Army Act and all. Okay, so this is about this Article 33. So that's it guys for this video. In the next video, we will discuss from question number 76 to question number 100, and we will finish the first test. Okay. If you have any questions, do leave in the comment box. If you want to know more, do let us know. And just before leaving, one more information. So as you all know, for the first 1 week, we are providing the entire summary at free of cost. But from the second week, you will have to subscribe to this document. The videos are available at free of cost. You don't have to worry about that. Only thing is you have to purchase this document, and this document is available. You can purchase it from our Telegram channel. This is the pricing that I have given here. The best what I would suggest is the combo offer at just ₹2499. See, we are putting in a lot of efforts for your benefit only. That is the major thing. Because of our efforts, what we can ensure you is that you will not waste your time. That is what is the main objective of this course. Okay. So do make the best use of this. Right, so that's it guys. I'll see you again in the next lecture. Till then, keep studying and stay tuned. Jai Hind.